Hi, and welcome back. I'm sorry it's been a little time since I posted on YouTube, but this is because there are a number of things going on here. As you know, we're in Scotland, and I have been asked by one or two people in their comments if I would show you the sort of place where we are. So in a few moments I'll do this, and I will put 2 or 3 slides on so that you can see what it looks like. I can tell you from our point of view it's really isolated and very good. No COVID-19 here, thank you. Now this evening I'm going to talk about death and the point of death and what happens. Now, we've done this before, and I could do it the same way that I've done it before, but I thought that it would be worthwhile doing it slightly differently. And I'm going to use a dream, J.B. Priestley's dream of the tower and the birds. This is a very powerful dream, and I shall read it out, and so you'll actually have the slides there. And you can then copy it down if you want, but of course you can get it from Google anyway. Now, your course book for the dream work, this is only just one, is this one. It is The Hidden Door. It's written by myself and my wife, and it's a rather good book. It's published by White Crow, and it contains quite a bit about the neurophysiology of dreams, but this changes all the time. But it also talks about precognition in dreams, talks about how to control your dreams, and so on. So we're looking at dreams because we feel that dreams may be a way that one can get a better insight into the underpinning nature of reality, transcendence, in fact. Now, I understand that some of you feel that experience as we have it is just brain function, that's all. Do away with the brain, do away with everything. Whereas others see the brain much more as a filter of a much wider reality which surrounds us. And that's the view that I subscribe to more than that everything is in the brain. My reason for that is that we don't even understand yet scientifically what consciousness is. So this is to say then that we can decide between these two views of reality has to be wrong. So I'm taking the broader view. It's a tragedy that all those people should lose their lives. It's a tragedy that so many families should be affected. It's a tragedy that's going to take some time for this country, and more particularly the people whose relatives have died, to come to terms with it. So I think that it is reasonable to look at death again from this way. So I promised you some slides of where we are, and these will come up, and then we'll go on to the Priestley's dream of the tower and the birds, and then I'll have a little look at this. But first of all, let's have the slides. This is the view from our sitting room window. When we came up here, the daffodils were in full bloom, and you can see those in the foreground and then the loch in the background, and right over on the right, if you can expand the picture, you will in fact be able to see snow on Ben Nevis. So it's really very isolated. This is the sort of country it's in. Here is a big stone cliff that the Edinburgh Mountaineering School uses to practice. And so obviously they are not up here at the moment, but it's very, very wild. And out of another window, this is at midnight, or no, it's probably not midnight, it's probably about 9, in fact, in the evening, so there's a bit of daylight, but a lot of that is moonlight. And so there is the moon in a clear sky over the hills where we are. Now, this evening, I wanted to talk about Priestley's dream, as recounted in his book, Man and Time. It's a very profound dream. It's a transcendent dream, and it raises a lot of questions, but it answers also a lot of questions in the way that he perceived it and explained it. Now, the dream is called The Tower of Birds. So let's have a look. This is just a picture of the birds, which is included in the actual story itself. So here we are then. Priestley's dream. And I'm talking about this dream really because of the sadness and loss that many people will have when their close relatives, parents, siblings may have died in the virus pandemic. So Priestley's dream. I was standing at the top of a very high tower, alone, looking down upon the myriads of birds flying in one direction. Every kind of bird was there, all the birds in the world. It was a noble sight, this vast aerial river of birds. But now, in some mysterious fashion, the gear was changed, and the time speeded up, so that I saw generations of birds, watch them break their shells, flutter into life, mate, weaken, falter, and die. Wings grew only to crumble. Bodies were sleek, and then in a flash bled and shriveled, and death struck everywhere at every second. What was the use of all this blind struggle towards life, this eager trying of wings, this hurried mating, this flight and surge, all this gigantic, meaningless biological effort? As I stared down, seeming to see every creature's ignoble little history almost at a glance, I felt sick at heart. It would be better if not one of them, if not one of us at all, had been born, if the struggle ceased forever. I stood on my tower, still, alone, desperately unhappy. But now the gear was changed again, and time went faster still, and it was rushing by at such a rate that the birds could not show any movement, but were like an enormous plane, sown with feathers. But along this plane, flickering through the bodies themselves, there now passed a sort of white flame, trembling, dancing, then hurrying on. As soon as I saw it, I knew that this white flame was life itself, the very quintessence of being. And then it came to me in a rocket burst of ecstasy that nothing mattered, nothing could ever matter, because nothing else was real but this quivering and hurrying lambency of being. Birds, people or creatures not yet shaped and coloured, all were of no account, except so as this flame of life travelled through them. It left nothing to mourn over behind it. What I had thought of as tragedy was mere emptiness of a shadow show. For now all real feeling was caught and purified and danced on ecstatically with the white flame of life. I have never felt before such happiness as I knew at the end of my dream of the Tower of Birds. An amazing dream. Quite clearly it's a mystical or transcendent experience. We're not thinking of this just in terms of dream function, we're thinking of it in terms of the veil of life being torn just a little bit open so that we can see through into what is really there. In this dream, J.B. Priestley saw that it wasn't the transient life which was important, it is what the individual contributed to that flame, which went on and on and on. And I thought that this was a nice way of thinking about these experiences. I think you'll agree that that was an amazing dream, and it has two very important points. The first one, when Priestley was just looking at the dead birds all around him and thinking about their physical form and what they had gone through in this physical life, he was totally and utterly depressed. What was the point of it all? Why were we struggling like this to no avail? Because we were going to die anyway. But it's interesting, the second view was when time itself was changed, and he saw the whole thing in a quite different perspective. He saw the mass of feathers and birds below him, but he saw this flame of life, the flame of living, the flame which went from bird to bird, body to body, hurrying always onwards, purifying the experience of that person or that bird and carrying it with him. So nothing is lost. The experience of the person goes on in the flame of life. And this is what it's about. It's about, in this world, having experiences, and these experiences then being captured, if you like, by life itself, and being carried on through this wide position that we're all in, from person to person, from time to time, from evolution point to evolution point. So it's not just a waste of time. I know it's sad if somebody who's close to us has died, of course we'll miss them. But I think if you take the Tower of Dreams, then you can see that the very fact that they lived in itself is enough. That they, in fact, experienced, and this experience they had was the important thing. And it was purified by life itself as life hurried on. So do think about the tower and the birds. Do think about the fact that if we change our perspective, life seems to be quite a different thing. Thank you all for listening, and I'll do another post fairly soon. Thank you.